Hey, Charlie, it's Jim. Hey, wanted to show you just a couple more things about tables since you mentioned you didn't know about the others. So, as I mentioned, you know I'm against named ranges, primarily because named ranges are not dynamic. So, if I would create this as a named range, so I'm just going to create a simple named range, create from selection, top row, so we have a price as a named range. So if I wanted to do a total of price, I can see that named range is showing up in our table as price, and I can press enter. It's going to give me the total of 973. So if I highlight those, I can confirm it's 973. The problem with that total is if I added something else into this list, for example, such as a candy bar. And one candy bar at $2.50. Now it looks like if this was a total, right, of that field, then this would or should add up to 1223. But the named range stops at row 5. So adding something to the bottom is one of the biggest downfalls. You have to go back up to the formula ribbon, go to the name manager, and fix those kinds of references. So that is one of the challenges associated with using these. So what I'm going to do is just kind of clear these out, show you how they work within a table, also show you something else within a table as well too. So, all right, we're just clearing those out. All right, so let me just clear this out of here. So we make this a table, just hit the insert ribbon and we insert it as a table. It'll pick it up dynamically as long as all the cells are contiguous text. My table is headers, we're going to say OK. So that gives us our automatic formatting. You can change any of the styles that you want just by picking something else. Doesn't really matter what you pick. We have a new table here. We can rename this table to, let's just call it the invoice. And press enter. So that naming convention still works the same. Now, one of the other advantages with a table is if you add a column and press enter, the table automatically expanded to include that new column. So the reason for that is using pivot tables, using other references where table column field names are there, that now becomes available just by hitting the refresh. So it adds it in automatically. Another advantage to using this. If we put in a formula where we're going to multiply the cells together, whenever I click on this cell, it gives me readable formulas. So instead of creating named ranges, the at quantity is the at symbol means for this row. Use the value in the quantity field. So if I do times the price, the formula becomes at quantity times at price. So we now have readable formulas. Also, the other thing too is when I press enter, it'll automatically fill it down. When it fills it down, our formula is showing as at quantity times price for all of the values or all of the rows within that table, which is one of the nice things about that. The other thing you have is you can add on a table, you can insert a table or total rows. So just right click total rows. And your total rows, you have this drop down where you can change it to any one of these parameters, such as an average. The other thing, whenever the average is showing, and again, just formatting it is the same as formatting it would be as a dollar. But the other thing with the formulas, as it calculates, it automatically updates. So if you do a filter, so I'm just going to take two things off here. The average was 1137. I say OK. It becomes 1479. So this is actually using a subtotal function for what is being filtered. So the total row does add that advantage. Now you do want to be careful because you have the option. If you do try to add this column up, you could add that value twice, in essence doubling it. So I typically leave the total row off unless there's something I'm trying to add in. So again, table formatting all works the same as what you're used to. Now the other advantage is you can use this table names in formulas somewhere else. So if I was doing a sum like we previously did, I can come over to this column, and if you notice my cursor right where it changes to that down arrow, I'm not sure if I can make that any bigger, but that down arrow, if I just click right there, it's actually going to insert the table name and then square brackets for the column name. So what that's going to do is just add up that entire column. Now what's nice about this, if I go back and add in another category, let's just say it's a quantity of 2 and a price of $3.25. Now when I press enter here, my total's automatically going to fill in, but my formula updated using that column name references. So I still get all the advantages of using names as you're used to with named ranges, but the biggest advantage is, one, it is dynamic. So, and we can do this with any formula. So again, if we're just doing an average, we can just use our cursor here and we can click, and that'll bring in what we're looking to do. We can also type this information out if we wanted to. So if we wanted to do a max function, we can start typing in the table name as well too. So I think this is invoice, INV, brings us up in top to our list. I press the tab key, and if I put in the square bracket, now I can see a list of all of the column names. So I can do the same thing with the column just by typing it. So I can either click right there where I can see the down arrow, or I can just type it out into a formula. So those are the advantages of using a table.